Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Janet Yong, and in my channel I share about Feng Shui, Bazi, entrepreneurship as well as personal growth, especially in the areas of communication, motivation and success. Thank you very much to all who has voted on my recent poll on the topics that I should be sharing this year, and the overwhelming response on both Telegram as well as YouTube has been on personal growth. So I've decided to then start off this particular series with personal growth from a skill sets perspective. Now, what does it mean by utilizing Bazi in terms of understanding what kind of skill sets or profile influence that we should be picking up from? Here, let's go back to what I've always shared in the Asian personality profiling series, which I adapted from the traditional Bazi so that it is easier for us to each understand our intrinsic talent, our passion, what is the latent talent that we should be basically building on towards our long-term growth and success. And if you are unaware of what is your latent talent or your base profile as depicted in my JYPQ quadrant or chart itself, you can go to this link here, and I'll also leave the link below in the video description to get your complete Bazi career profiling report to discover your base profile. Now, why is it important to understand your base profile? Your base profile is basically the one profile in terms of talent and motivation and passion that you would usually want to look at from a longer term perspective. And for those of you who already know your base profile, do visit my Asian personality profiling series itself, the link I'm pointing here, so that you can understand a bit more as well. Why is it important for us to understand our base profile? Look at it as a destination that you want to go through and reach in terms of building your strongest and most passionate skill set that you want to do or role that you want to perform in the longer term. Then each of us will go through the 10-year luck cycle, which is shown in the Bazi chart besides our Bazi natal chart itself. And in each of these 10-year luck cycle, there will be skill sets that we need to pick up. And on top of that, then the annual influences in terms of skill sets that we need to pick up will then come in. Traditionally, when we look at Bazi, we will look at bad luck, good luck, favorable luck, unfavorable luck. When I first learned Bazi, I asked myself, what does it mean by favorable or good luck? Or what does it mean by bad luck or unfavorable luck? Now, as I looked at it from a skill sets, personal growth perspective, then it's easier for me to understand what are the influences that are coming into my life, have an insight on the kind of skill sets that I need to build. And that's how I usually will interpret it if you want to use Bazi from a personal growth perspective. Now, in the traditional times when we talk about bad luck or unfavorable elements, look at it from the perspective that the particular element or profile is something that you are not comfortable with. Therefore, from a layman's perspective in the olden times, then it becomes bad luck. So for instance, if you are someone who is action oriented, and then the 10-year luck pillar influence or the annual influence requires you to basically either do analysis or follow a certain process instead of jumping straight into the action, then of course you're not going to be comfortable with it, and that's the reason why you will feel that it is a bad luck. Or if you are someone who's not used to change and the luck cycle requires you to change, then of course you feel that it is unfavorable. However, if you have that insight and be prepared in your mind that these are the skill sets that you need to build along your life journey such that you can reach your final goal and destination, then you will be happier, right? So if you look at it from my perspective, I am a yin fire and from a base profile perspective, I'm a leader profile. So in other words, I love to work with people and I love to influence people, and that's one of the reasons why I'm on YouTube doing what I'm doing. But in order for me to start doing this, which was only about 2 years ago, I had to go through many different kinds of experiences in terms of going into the corporate world, understanding how to build a team, understanding how to lead a team, understanding the struggles of working and having a single source of income. When I first went into Feng Shui and then expanded into my retail business, I had to also understand how to scale my business once I get to a certain stage. And those were the skill sets in terms of process, in terms of analysis that I had to go through in order for me to do what I love to do right now. So look at it that way and you will generally have the right kind of mindset when you're actually examining your 10-year profile influence as well as your annual influence itself. So without further ado, let's move on to the next segment where I'll share with you more about what are the 2022 influence for each of the individual day masters. Let's move on then. See you. Hello. Welcome to this particular segment, and if you have not gotten your Bazi chart itself, do go to this link or scan this QR code, because when we talk about the annual influence, it has to do with the interactions that the annual element influence is with your day element itself. So what is the day master or day element? The day element is the circled element that is shown in this particular chart, which is the day heavenly stamp in the day pillar as highlighted here. And what we're looking at is basically the year 2022, year of the young water tiger. What is its influence in terms of interaction with your day element or day master? Now, as I mentioned earlier on in my introduction itself, it is critical for you to understand what is your base profile in terms of the long-term skill sets that you want to build, and look at the 10-year luck cycle and this annual luck influences or profile influences as short milestones in terms of small milestones of skill sets that you need to build towards your ultimate long-term goal. This is what I mean. You have basically the elements of the year itself interacting with the day of your Bazi chart, and therefore the kind of skill sets based on the 5 orientations or 5 structures, if we were to use it from a traditional Bazi perspective. And under each of the orientation or structure, there will be individual profiles and the kind of skill sets that you need to build. So as a general guideline, I'll run through today all the different orientation influences for all the 10 different day masters or 5 elements itself, and for both the first half as well as the second half of 2022, and I will go on to those born with the day of wood. After that, each of the following week's episodes, I will then focus on the different elements. So let's move on here. We have, for a start, those born on the day of wood, both the yang wood and the yin wood. So the structure is that of resource, and from an orientation perspective, it is analysis. What it is for people born on the day of wood, whether is it yang wood or yin wood, what it means would be more taking a step back, analyzing the entire situation. And if it is the philosopher profile, is looking at a slightly bigger picture. If it is the analyzer, is going into more details or going to research. For those born on the day of fire, it would be picking up process, skill sets, learning project management. For those born on earth element itself, the first half influence would be that of action orientation, setting goals. For those born on the day of metal, it would be ideas, looking at slightly longer term, becoming more creative, expressing yourself more, doing more public speaking. And for those born on the day of water, it will be that of people orientation in terms of building team, motivating other team members. So that's for the first half of the year, influence and the skill sets that you need to pick up. Whereas for the second half of this year, it will be the people orientation or team building skill sets for those born on the day of wood. For analysis would be those for the day of fire. In terms of learning project management or process, it will be those of earth. And for metal, you'll be really taking action, setting goals. And for those born with the water day element, it will be creativity in terms of ideas, in terms of public speaking. So let's move on to the first set of the wood day masters. So for those born on the day of young wood, which is the image of tree, then this year, in terms of influence in the first half, it will be that of analysis, and the profile influence is that of philosopher. So philosopher is generally really looking at a longer term trend, bigger trends, and a lot of times when you're looking at analysis or resource structure, it is also learning from other people. But in this case, it's not necessarily learning from the perspective of attending classes. It could be just looking at overall trend, learning from other people's action. If you have a role model, learning from them, and then applying it in a bigger picture perspective. In the second half of this year, it will be more from that of building team members, okay, but more from a smaller team perspective, generally maybe a one-to-one basis, but most times it may be people approaching you for your help itself. The key thing is if your base profile of friend is already pretty high and highlighted in red, and with this friend profile influence, you need to be a little bit more careful, because what you want is to ensure that you are not looking at expectations of return, and when you don't get that thank you, you will build a wall around yourself or become solitary. So that's for those born on the day of young wood. What about those born on the day of yin wood? For the first half, again, is analysis, but this is more from the approach of analyzer. Analyzer is usually a little bit more detail oriented. So maybe you'll be looking at analysis of facts and figures, or you will also be attending classes to learn something. And the key is if you are originally already an analysis oriented personality, it is crucial for you not to end up in analysis paralysis in this particular case. If you are looking at second half for those born on Yin Wood Day, it is also that of people, but more from an inspiring and making a difference to other people, because the profile influence is that of the leader. So pick up skill sets of inspiration as well as motivational skill sets, especially if you have just been promoted. And what I'd like to also share with you is, because of quite a lot of requests, I've come up with a 2022 personalized Bazi and Feng Shui blueprint for success report. And if you are interested, please click on the link that I'm showing here, or go to the video description itself to get this particular report, to understand what kind of skill sets and how you can actually have better opportunities even if you don't have good stars from the animal horoscope perspective this year. And on top of that, because there were a lot of requests for basic Bazi as well as Bazi for career and wealth, I've launched 2 short courses such that not only are you able to learn Bazi to help yourself, but the Bazi for career and wealth itself will also teach you on understanding the different types of personalities, profiles, as well as people whom you are working with, the kind of orientation they are, and helping you to understand them better, interact, so that you can influence better and have better success in your career and wealth. I hope to see you in my courses and welcome you as part of my community. If not, I will see you next week, where I'll share more about those born on the day of fire. See you next week. Goodbye.